On the 30th of March 2023, detectives with the New Rochelle Police Department responded to a Toyota dealership in New Rochelle, New York, after staff flagged an attempt to finance a vehicle worth more than $100,000 using stolen identities.
Go with him. Hands on the car. Oh, another one?
After the first suspect is spotted and immediately detained, officers notice another suspect entering the showroom. They quickly move in to intercept her before she can leave the area. Officers now had to determine how many suspects were still in the area and where they were.
Where's the officer? Or any officer speaking in private. Follow him. First and foremost, my name is Detective Velasco. Speak English? Right now, you're being detained. You're not under arrest, but you're not free to go. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay. We're here because the dealership called us. That being said, the very first thing we're going to start with is your name. Before I get your name or any of your information, if you lie to me about your name, your date of birth, your address, anything like that, it's a completely separate crime than from whatever else we got going.
I
Do you
understand.
understand? That being said, what is your name?
Shireen,
What brings you to New York?
your friend.
Did you come today? Yesterday? How long have you been in New York for?
I came on Saturday.
Do you have your passport with you?
Yes, I do.
Couple units to Toyota. I'm here. Investigating a fraud. Possibly a female officer.
I'm down in Toyota. Just give me an 18 check by name when you're ready. First name's Shireen.
After detectives confirmed her identity over the radio, they began establishing Shireen's background, why she traveled to New York, and how she carried out the scam. What she reveals next could become a central part of the investigation.
For a little privacy, I'm going to close the door, okay? He's got his camera on, anything like that. Before it takes any further, I have to read you your rights. Okay, make sure you understand.
I've never been detained in my life, so.
Well then, this will be the first time, alright? Warning, I'm a police officer, and these are your constitutional rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand what I've just stated to you? If you do you wish to speak with me? Okay. You understand the crux of why we're here, but the manager called us, says two females are here trying to purchase this car. This ID I'm looking at very much looks like you. You understand that. I have the credit app that was filled out. My only question to you is, why?
I have nothing left.
What does it mean?
I've been through a lot, and I've worked really hard. I got offered this, and I've never done this in my life.
This as in come and purchase this car? Okay. Did they provide you with this ID too?
Yes,
Whoever
they
asked
just
you?
provided me hers.
Okay. And this ID you gave to the general manager today, correct? Establish that. Now, from what I'm gathering, somebody probably offered you money to do this? How much money did they offer you?
They didn't say.
Okay. What were the instructions?
They just told us to follow.
Follow.
I followed her. She.
At this point, Shireen confirms that she was not acting alone and says she was simply following instructions from others involved in the scheme. Detectives now begin focusing on who gave those instructions and who exactly she was following.
She's my friend from here. She has her connections, so I just had to follow.
So they said just follow her, here's a fake ID, and go and try and buy a car, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And was she the one that told you that you can make money from this, or how did you get involved with this?
I told her that I was having trouble.
So you told her you're in a little bit of financial
She
trouble?
was also going through that, and somebody that she knows offered her this, and she told me about it, and
So it sounds like she's done this in the past, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
So she says, I know a way we can make some money, and how does she explain this plan to you? Like, what were the instructions, what was the goal here?
She just sounded confident that she knew she could trust this person.
And why this dealership?
I don't know, they tell us what car we need to go get, and that's what we've been doing today. We've been trying to find a car.
Okay, how many other dealerships did you guys go to today?
Well, we just tried calling them to see because they were very pressuring us to do it, and we were frustrated all day because we couldn't find it, and when we finally did, she I'm here.
After spending much of the day trying to locate the vehicle they were instructed to purchase, the suspects finally arrived at a dealership. Detectives now begin examining the transaction more closely, and the information coming together here could reveal another important part of the case.
So, now you come here, you try to buy this car. You know what the value of this car is?
Yes. Taxes included all 100,000. She told us.
It's a very serious felony here in the state. Remember, and the felony's minimum 1 year in jail. But you seem like very low on the totem pole here. There's people above you that are more interested. People that recruit people like you who need the money.
Okay.
And that's who I'm more interested in. Okay? Sounds like you're being honest, but I don't believe I'm getting the full truth here.
Yeah. I don't want to speak on her behalf. I'm trying to protect her too. I only want to speak for myself.
That's fine, but also you should understand that she put you in the situation here.
I know, but I believe that I only speak for myself. I don't like to.
As detectives continue questioning her, she makes it clear that she does not want to speak for anyone else involved. But why is she trying to protect her friend? Detectives now turn their attention to the other people connected to the operation, and the reason behind that hesitation may reveal more about the relationship between the people involved.
Where are you staying?
In Queens.
With her?
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy with driving the car. What's his deal? Who is he?
Oh, he's just the friend I just met. We just met him. We just met him because he was supposed to be our driver. So we were not supposed to.
The driver set up by who? Whoever's telling you, instructing you to do this?
Yes.
Who gave you guys these IDs?
I didn't pick them up myself. We had to go to a place in Yonkers, I think it's called. And we just waited in a parking lot. Somebody came to give it to us. But we didn't know him.
Okay.
I can't even remember his face.
Who's we? You and her?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Me, him, and the driver, because he drives us. He drove us. No, this was yesterday or, yeah, yesterday. I can't say exactly the date.
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday. I can't say. It was during this week.
So this
One
guy,
of these days during the week.
the driver, you've been with him for multiple days?
We haven't been doing this for multiple
How many times have you been in the car with the driver?
Well, this
From
week.
Yonkers,
Because we didn't just do that.
Yonkers, today, and other places?
Yeah, this week.
What day did you pick up the IDs?
Maybe Monday or Tuesday. Like I say, it's this week, but
That's fine. You understand that the car, you said, is registered to your father or your mother?
yeah, my dad.
And you have a random guy driving it around.
Yeah,
And you're a little hazy on the details here.
I know.
With several details still unclear, the detective continues examining Shireen's account, while another officer arrests and transports her female friend to the department. Detectives now begin explaining the charges she could face, and her reaction could change the direction of the questioning.
This is what we're going to do, okay? I want you to really think about the situation you're in here, and you are under arrest. And this is a very serious crime.
You said that I'm being detained.
Yeah. And then now, through this investigation, you are under arrest. How about for possession of fraudulent ID, committing fraud, attempted grand larceny? You're definitely going to be arrested tonight. Can't make any guarantees. Speak to you a little bit more inside. It seems to me like you're the small fish here. People that are calling the scenes, making fake IDs, instructing you how to do this. That's what I'm really interested in. Because people like you are just looking for means, looking to make money. Am I right? Somebody gets you a quick get-rich scheme, and people bite. If we can figure out who these people are with your help, it might help you out.
Do you have a real idea? What's your real idea?
It's right here.
Excuse me. I want to close it. I want to close it.
I'll close it. We'll close it. Stand up.
Use the hat. I want to put it in there.
Cover. Yep.
I got one question for you. So you, your friend, and the driver, and that's it? Anybody else around here?
No.
No other guy that was supposed to be with you guys was walking on? Just you three?
It was us three.
We'll talk outside. Okay?
Okay, we'll talk. It's okay. Just before she gets in your car.
Wallet, phone, keys, stuff
All
like
in my
that.
bag. They have my
In your
bag.
bag. They're gonna bring it in. Don't worry, okay? I got it on camera. You're good.
Pass you down, just make sure there's nothing.
Alright, this part by Twin House. Supposed to be mobile vehicles parked in handicap spots.
Watch your head.
The encounter begins as an investigative detention, not an arrest. Detective Wilson tells the subject directly that she is not under arrest, but she is not free to leave. That phrase places the stop inside the framework set by Terry versus Ohio, which allows police to briefly detain someone based on reasonable suspicion, a lower standard than the probable cause required for a full arrest. Here, that suspicion comes from a dealership employee's real-time report of a suspected fraudulent purchase. A citizen tip courts generally treat as reliable. For any rights warning, the detective asks for her name, date of birth, address, how long she's been in the country, and whether she has her passport. Basic biographical questions like these usually fall under what's known as the routine booking exception, established in Pennsylvania versus Muniz, information gathered for administrative purposes rather than to build a case. But travel, history, and passport status sit closer to the line. In an identity theft case involving someone from another country, that information carries real investigative value, not just administrative value. Only after this does the detective deliver a full Miranda warning the right to remain silent, and the warning that anything said can be used in court. From that point forward, the conversation is unambiguously custodial interrogation. That shift matters, because minutes later the detective tells her the charge she's facing carries up to 28 years in prison, and suggests that helping identify others involved might help her out. Under Frazier versus Cupp, some overstatement during interrogation is permitted without automatically making a statement. Involuntary courts weigh the totality of the circumstances, but the combined statutory maximum for the charges she was ultimately booked on falls well short of 28 years, and the offer of help was never put into any documented agreement. Once the arrest became formal, any search of her belongings was permitted as a search incident to arrest, a well-established exception to the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirement. The charges: conspiracy in the fourth degree under New York Penal Law, Section 105.1-0, a Class E felony; criminal possession of a forged instrument in the second degree under Section 170.2-5, a Class D felony; and identity theft in the second degree under Section 190.7-9, also a Class E felony. That's a different legal theory than the grand larceny language used on camera, because the $100,000 loan never actually funded. No property changed hands, so prosecutors used identity theft instead, on a statute that only requires assuming someone else's identity to seek money or credit, whether or not the fraud succeeds. New Rochelle police confirmed these charges publicly the following day. No further court record has been located, and the case should be treated as unresolved beyond arraignment. This case illustrates a principle worth remembering. Once Miranda rights are read and understood, a person is free to stop answering at any time, even mid-interview. An officer's description of the potential penalty, however serious, is not a reason to keep talking. It's a reason to ask for an attorney. Citizens are also not required to answer questions about travel, history, or immigration status without first understanding whether those questions are administrative or purely investigative. Understanding this distinction can meaningfully change how and how much someone chooses to say during any police interview. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more legal analysis of police interactions.